friends, my name is Joey. It is an exciting day on my channel because I was already super excited about the project that I'm making today. It's something that I kind of worked out in my head and something that I've never done before, and I think it's going to be really cute. I've already started on that, but in the interim, I was contacted by a company that makes jewelry tools. It's called Toolar, and they asked if I would like to have their jewelry tool kit to share with my audience. And of course I said yes. If you are, have been around my channel before, you know that I'm something of a jewelry toolaholic. I feel like with the right tool, you can do anything. So this beautiful little package with the little loop on the end is full of tools, and the cherry on top is they are pink, but it does also come in blue and black. I got the pink and black, but aren't they amazing? And I have to tell you, the tools are wonderful. The tips on everything is really fine, but I love to travel, and I often do beading trips with my girlfriends where we'll travel. Like there's a couple of shops in South Florida that do classes or have like an open beading night where you bring a project and snacks and go hang out with friends. And the last couple of times that I did that, I took my jewelry tools and threw them in a plastic bag and put them in my tote bag. And I am pretty sure that this little set is going to be my new travel tools. I just absolutely love this. And there are a couple of things in here that I didn't have. So I'm going to take everything out and lay them on my mat so you can see all the individual pieces. It's such a comprehensive set. I absolutely love the scissors that come with the tool, and they have the little locking device. Again, I mean, it's good for your work table too, but to do travel, you can't take these on an airplane, but car trips like I do with my friends. And I have already tested a couple of things. These are super sharp and no stress in cutting, so I am thrilled to have those. And then on the cutters, look at the flush cutters. They are absolute perfection. Like that blade lines up just perfectly, and so I am going to be using those. I'm going to set them to the side here, and then look at the bail making plier. I absolutely love this. I use a bail making plier constantly. You can do all your own jump rings with all these different steps on this bail, and I just absolutely love this bail making plier. It's just so great. And then this is another love of mine. If you do anything with wire, you need a good pair of nylon jaw pliers. And these are wonderful, and I'm going to be using these. They are actually really necessary for the project that I want to do today. So I'm really, really thrilled to get those. And then look at the little bent chain nose pliers. The tip on these is so precision, and I use bent chain nose pliers. I keep bent chain nose pliers on my right hand side because when I'm making jewelry, that's my right hand tool that I reach for. And then I keep my those are the round nose. The tips on these are so fine that you really those are the round nose. They're so fine and so precision that you really need to look at them to see which tool you have in your hand. But these are the regular chain nose pliers, and the tips are just so tiny on these, and that is so useful when you're making jewelry, not to have chunky tips, because jewelry loops and things like that are quite small. So what I normally do with my tools is keep my bent chain nose pliers on my right hand side and my regular chain nose pliers on my left hand side. And then when I'm working, I don't know if you've noticed, if you've been around my channel and you've seen my videos, that I always I work like that with my tools. So that's what I'm going to do again. And then look at the round nose pliers. They are so wonderful. That is like the tiniest little round nose tip. It's absolutely perfect. I just love this plier. It's just so great. So I'm going to set that one up here where I normally keep my round nose pliers. I try to keep my mat clean. So I'm going to set that there. And then look at the wonderful little, it's a smaller flat nose plier, and look at that. It's just so great. So I do love a flat nose plier for making my own ear wires, but I also use it for doing my head pins that have like the little squiggle. And I did a recent head pin video, and overwhelmingly you all said that was your favorite of the head pins, and this will do it in a more petite way. So I am so thrilled to get the flat nose plier. And then there is a bracelet buddy in the set. So, you know, if you have trouble, and you have heard me say again, if you've been here, that the bracelet gods do not want you to clasp your bracelet when the camera is rolling. So with this, you can clip your, clip your chain and hold your chain. And then it's like having an extra hand. That is just absolutely wonderful. And we got in this set a wonderful pair of tweezers. These are so cool, and I have knotting tweezers. I have a couple of different tweezers. I have a tweezer set, but I actually don't have anything that looks like this. It has this silicone tip on it, and so for picking up anything, I'll leave these here and show you because I have some really small beads in today's project. So speaking of that, I will put a link in the description box to this fabulous tool set. I just love it so much, and I am so grateful to the Toolar people for reaching out to me, because I do get a lot of messages after every video, and even private messages, and I know from that there are a lot of you that are brand new to jewelry making, and you are just starting to collect your tools and things, and I get a lot of questions about tools. So, that might be the way to go. For a very inexpensive price, you pretty much get everything in one set in a case. So this is today's project. I was already excited about this, but now I have new tools to work with. And I have done a lot of this ahead of time because it is very repetitive. There are a couple of little different techniques on each of my pieces that's going to go in this bead bouquet. I am so excited. I even took some bugle beads and did like I'm pretending that I'm a florist, a bead florist. I used to work in before I had my design business, I used to work in a wholesale showroom that was just for interior designers, not open to the public. And they had a division of floral designers. And I used to take my lunch back there and watch them pull things for their arrangements, the scale, the numbers that they would choose for things, and the different textures. And so when I was making this little bouquet, that's what I was thinking of, is to have like different leaves, to have some like grass-like things coming out, different shapes of my flowers. So there are a few different techniques, and I wanted a pretty full bouquet. So I've done, most of this off camera so you could see where the project is going. Oh my goodness, each one is so pretty, but when you make your bouquet, it's really gorgeous. And then what I'm planning to do is to bundle this, create my bouquet just like a florist, bundle it, and I'm gonna try and see how I like a seed bead bow across the front. If I don't like it, my plan B, because I had thought about doing a textile bow, like a satin cord, or just to add another texture into my bouquet. But I have saved here one of everything that's going in the project, so we can do that together. And I will tell you, I'm going to start with the two easiest things to wrap. And the other thing that I did here is I used some colored wire just to add in like on the little ombre purple and blue. The turquoise just really looked great, that little turquoise. So this is 26 gauge wire, and I am using the soft flex wire. You can get it in all the gauges. So, what I did is just alternated, like I did my pearls on the colored wire, which is just craft store wire. That did not come from soft flex, but I just had it in my stash, and it's really fine gauge wire. And then the little embellishment on the base of my flowers is in that. So it's kind of a, it's kind of a mix. So I did not measure my pieces of 26 gauge wire. This is about maybe 7-8 inches. You don't want to short yourself because the twisting does eat up a lot of length of wire. So the easiest one to do is this little check glass leaf. So I'm just going to let that drop down to the center of my wire and just draw my wires together and pinch it as close as I can. And then I'm going to take this beautiful nylon jaw plier and get a hold right here. And now I'm using my bead kind of as a handle. And I'm going to just, not a lot of pressure here, but just enough. And I'm going to twist, and I'm kind of gently pulling as I twist, and that's working my way up the wire. And I'm just going to do the whole length of it. When I'm all done making all my pieces, I will, trim them all to the same length, and I'm going to do a little fancy curl at the end. So that's all you do, just twist. Just holding the same pressure here, not too much, because then you'll struggle with the twisting, but not too little, because you want to keep your twist consistent. And like I said, this leaf is the easiest to do because you have something easy to hold onto. And as you can see, I'm getting a really beautiful, perfect twist. Some of the other flowers and beads that I wanted in my bouquet are challenging, and I won't lie, they were challenging, but I feel like they turned out okay. And I feel like when I cluster it in my bouquet, it's just going to be another texture, and I think it's going to look great. So this is all you do. So I'm going to take a piece of the 26 gauge colored wire. This is in like a mint green. This came from our craft store. It doesn't even have a color on it. This came from our craft store in America that is going out of business. It's called Joann's, but you can find coated wire pretty much everywhere. You do have to be careful not to mar the wire with your pliers, because you'll take the color off if you're too aggressive with your pliers. So same thing here, but this time I'm going to do this little flower. And so I'm going to put the flower, whoops, get on there. I'm going to put the flower on the wire and let it come down to about the middle. And then on my little flowers, I put a green seed bead right in the middle of the flower. And then I brought my wire down and on the outside, one of the wires on the outside of the flower, just like that. And when I show you the other style that I've done, like these and these, where the wire goes down the middle, you'll see why on such a small bead I opted to do it this way. So you can take your pliers and like pinch this together, but 26 gauge wire is very easy to move and manipulate. And then I'm going to do the same thing using my bead here as kind of a handle and using my nylon jaw pliers, and just get my few little twists in just like that, and again get going and just twisting the bead, not too much pressure here with the nylon jaw plier, and just twist and kind of gently pulling this way, just like we did the other piece. And I'm going to do the whole length of this little flower. And sometimes like my twist started tighter here and then got a little bit looser, and that happens sometimes, and I'm okay with that, because for me that is the nature of something that is handmade and not by a machine. In a world filled with AI, I love the little imperfections it shows, like the human hand and artistry. So that little flower is done. I've got that little wire hugging on the outside, and I can add that to my bouquet. And then I'll do this one next, because this one has this little technique here, whoops, This one has this little technique here, but also this is one of the ones that's a little bit challenging to get your twist in. So on that one I did gold wire. So I'm going to take a piece of gold wire and same thing, I'm going to go up through the bead, and on these I did a little crystal gold seed bead just at the top. You need a bead to run your wire back through, and I'm going to sort of get it in the center. And this is, like I say, this one is a little more tricky, a little more challenging. I'm putting the wire back down, not through the seed bead, just through the flower. And you want to be careful not to kink your wire here, because you'll have a more difficult time getting, let me move this so you have a clear focus on it. And I'm just going to work it down. It does fit. You might want to like pinch your wire together, getting that seed bead right at the top of the loop. And here again, nylon jaw pliers, get a hold of my wire and just give it a tug, pulling on the bead and pulling on the wire. So my little seed bead ends up there. So now what happens when you start to twist is the whole thing wants to twist inside the bead. So if you get a couple of twists going by hand and then try to hold on to your seed bead loop at the top to get it started, it's really the same movement, but on this type, the problem is that you just don't have much to hang on to start your twist. And the flower, see, can you see how it spins? The flower is not really much of a help because it you know, it twists too. So I just did my best, same motion, like twisting and tugging a little bit, and trying to put my finger, my thumb, like on that seed bead loop, because that did help me to get some leverage. And the more twists you get in, the easier it becomes. So I'm just going to do the whole length of this, and then you'll see another challenge with this bead. But I'm stubborn. These are the beads I wanted in my bouquet. I wanted a little touch of pink. So I'm stubborn. That's what I wanted in my bouquet. So I'm going to make this work, and actually making it work really turned out great because I added in another element to my bouquet, and I really love it. So let me twist to the end. And so on some of these, I did stop using the tool because it is 26 gauge wire, and if you twist too much, you'll snap the wire. So on some of my flowers, I got to a certain point and I just did my twisting kind of by hand. So this one's already wanting to do that, but I want it a little bit tighter. So on some of these, I just came in and kind of finished up by hand. And I think it's going to be fine that it goes from finer to looser, because when I bundle this and then do a little decorative curl, I think it's going to disappear right in the bouquet. So just finish up some of these by hand, just like that. And then to finish this one off, I took a little small piece of my green wire. And so the reason I did this, it was problem solving, but it turned out to be a really beautiful element, is my flower, the hole on my flower can slide right over my twist. So what I did here is just took some of that green wire right at the base of the flower, and I wrapped right on top of my twist, just down and up. It's a little bit organic. I mean, it's not perfect, but it just adds a little something to my flower. And just get that in there. And I'm going to trim this and then use my longer piece to kind of do a little base to my flower. Let me tuck. These tools are so wonderful. The tips are so small, and I just love that. And for this kind of a project and I do a lot of small work, it's absolutely perfect. So now I'm going to wrap a couple of wraps at the base of my flower, and then I know this is a very fine wire. This is a technique that I use sometimes when I want to create like the look of a bead cap at the end of a wire wrapped loop. I'm going to wrap, but instead of wrapping on top of the existing wires, I'm laying the wire behind. Let me unwrap here and tighten that a little bit. The 26 gauge wire is easy to move, but in some ways challenging too. But what I'm going to do is lay my, let me get a good base here. I'm going to try to lay my wire right beneath the previous one and kind of work my way up the base of the flower. It's not going to be perfect, but it adds a little element. It keeps the flower in place, but it also adds like a little element that you normally see on flowers. So can you see I'm just laying the wire like right beneath the previous one like that. And I'm going to stop there. I don't want to cover up too much of my flower, and trim off, and then you just kind of tuck that tuck that wire in however you can. When it's in my bouquet, it's going to be totally not noticeable. And so that's my little tulip flower. And then I did the pearls, I did them on the colored green wire as well. And this one is also pretty easy. I'm going to just let this drop down to the middle of my green wire and pull it to the center. And the only thing that's really kind of important about this, since it's a round bead, is that you bring your wires together, not lopsided. Like it wants to go lopsided, but I want them to be right in the middle. I want it to be centered on my pearl. So it looks like that. And just smooth these out and get them going. And then I'm going to come in. The pearl is now my thing for leverage. Put my nylon jaw pliers there and just start that twist. And the same exact thing. And I could, on the pearls, I could even like twirl them in my fingers. And this one went pretty fast because it's a round bead, so I could twirl it. It's a little bit easier if your wires are kind of side by side. So I'm just going to just twirl like that and get this. Okay, go to the end one. And I saved the bugle bead, this little element, for last. I only have a few of these in my bouquet just to act like a little grass, because I do think it's probably the most challenging. Oh, I did that one on gold. I do think this one is probably the most challenging because it's a bugle bead. There's not much to hold on to here. It's a very skinny glass tube, but it's the same thing. I'm going to feed it down to the middle, and I'm using an 8/0 seed bead for the top of these. And this one had the same challenge where after it was wrapped, the bugle bead just wanted to slide right down. So I did the same technique, but I saved one to do with you. So sorry, you guys, I am still coughing. I'm still having to pause a lot for the coughing. So it's the exact same technique where I'm just going to feed the wire. Isn't that amazing? That 26 gauge wire, 2 passes go through a bugle bead. I love that. I love beads. They're so amazing and fascinating. And I'm just gonna, without kinking my wire, just going to do that same thing that I did before, just work it down. And same thing, nylon jaw pliers to give you a little leverage. In fact, tighten these wires together right here. That will help it too. Yep, it's that little extra space. Smooth out those wires. And like I said, this one is challenging. I started by getting a few wraps in with my hands, with my fingers, but my bugle bead on my other ones, you know, it's not much to hold on to, and it's kind of that same thing. You really need to hold on to the seed bead, but that doesn't give you a lot to hold on to. But I only did 3 of these in my bouquet, and I got them in there. Same exact technique. Just do your best to hold on to the bead and twist and tug. Okay, now I'm going to trim. Whoops, that's not my cutters. Now I'm going to trim, and same exact technique. I'm just going to take a little piece of my colored wire, and let me show you one that's done, and just do a few little wraps at the base of that bugle bead. It just adds another texture, another kind of, I mean, it's a fantasy plant, I guess, you know, like a non-existent plant. Maybe something in nature looks similar, but I'm just going to do the same thing, just get a few wraps in. And like I said, it's challenging because, you know, there's not much to hold on to give you leverage, and it's a bugle bead, and then I'm wrapping on top of 26 gauge wire, but once you get going, it's not too bad. And then I did the same thing that I did on the flowers, where I just wrapped a little bit over the base, and you can go back down, like if you want to make it chunkier, you can go back down, but that keeps my bugle bead in place, and it just did the trick. And it adds, like I said, it adds another little element to the bouquet. When it's all bundled together, it's just going to be stunning. And now is the fun part. I am going to assemble my bouquet. I do want to get out another piece of 20 gauge wire for bundling it. So, I mean, not 20 gauge, 26 gauge. Okay, I have quite a bit extra here. There's probably 16 inches or so here, because I haven't decided yet if I'm going to just bundle and then do my bow on top of that, or if I'm going to do it all with one length of wire. So I will decide that, but I'm going to start by kind of creating my bouquet just the way these would be so cute even in like a little petite vase of some sort, or a little tiny jar. Like I just happened to see this. I have these little bicone jars, and even something little like that. Wouldn't that be the sweetest gift for someone's desk? I just love this idea. I have had so much fun with it. Let me get after I bundle it, I'll also be able to, you know, adjust things. I only had one of these flowers, so I do want to put this one in the middle. I only had one of those. Want it in the middle front of my bouquet. Okay, I'm going to start with kind of something that looks like that and get them bundled. And like I said, once it's all bundled, I can come back and, you know, like make the arrangement. This is the fun part of this, but I think it's also a little bit challenging until you get it secure, because it's a lot to hold on to. Okay, I'm going to come with my 26 gauge wire and do my best. I'm going to hold on to it with my left hand, put my wire underneath my thumb, and I'm going to start to wrap. And now I'm just, you know, just get those first couple of wraps in there. I'm going to pull tight and get some wraps in. Oh, that looks so pretty. But I think in order to make a bow, you have to have wires coming from both directions. So I think I am going to need to trim this and do my bow on top of that. So let me tuck these wires, trim and tuck, hide those cut ends before I go any further. Oh, this is so pretty. Oh my goodness. It's so pretty. And I'm just gonna like pull and kind of be a bead florist. This is the happiest project. Oh my goodness, you guys, this is a happy project. And for spring, when everybody's like feeling flowers and blooms and leaves are coming back on the trees, could this be any sweeter? I'm pretty happy with that. And so now what I'm going to do here is take my bail making plier, just because I need a little bit larger loop, and I'm going to take I'm going to trim everything first, I think, and then just make a little curl at the bottom of my bouquet. Oh, these are going everywhere. I'm trying to direct it down. I do have goggles on. I have glasses on, actually. So yeah, I have been cutting a wire a lot, so I kind of know how to direction when I'm going to cut. A couple of pieces did go flying, but when you do something like that, you want to really protect your eyes. And if you have little pets like your cat and things. So honestly, you could even just leave this like that. I kind of like it like that. But I don't like that it's sharp on the end, so I am going to make a little curl. So I'm going to try to get a hold of all of these guys in my plier and just make a little curve. I'll trim away anything that escapes. I'm just going to take a minute here because I don't want anything to be sharp. I don't want anything that will catch on clothes. So I'm just going to take a minute here and get this as neat as I can. And then I'm going to do a little bit of securing with the 20 gauge wire just to kind of keep this little curve in its place. Okay, so that one little gold twist was kind of hanging out, and rather than cut it away, I just decided to embellish my stem almost like a ribbon. So I'm just going to get it around, and then I'm going to do a little wrap right on top of that, just a little bit with more 26 gauge wire. And so I want to make sure that nothing here is sharp, so I'm just going to run my finger over everything, and anything that feels like it's sharp, I'm just going to like twirl it into the bouquet. Move a couple of my arrangements back into their spot. Oh, that is so pretty. Okay, and I'm just going to come right here and do another little bit of wrapping here. I want to take my pliers and just try to tuck this end, just because it's 26 gauge wire. So I'm going to try to tuck it in underneath my wraps. You know, if you guys have watched any of my other videos, you might have picked up on the fact that I'm really kind of a perfectionist with my jewelry, and this is the kind of thing that I, will play with until I have it just right. So, because there's really not an actual perfect way to do it, except make sure that it looks neat and that you don't have any sharp ends. So I run my finger over everything, and I've got everything so that it's not going to snag on clothing or anything. I love that. Okay, on to the seed bead bow. And like I said, I'm going to try the seed bead bow because I think that would be really pretty. But a little textile bow, a little satin ribbon bow here to add textile, like florists do. They tie their flowers with ribbon. That would be really, really cute too. But I'm going to take this 26 gauge wire and go right on top of these wraps, right in the middle. And let me just lay it down. And I'm just going to get a nice tight, I want to attach it tightly right here over my wraps that I did. And I'm going to bring one to this side and one wire to this side and just pull it really tight. This part is important before you make your bow, because your bow won't be secure if this isn't secure. So 2 pairs of pliers, and let me just give this a pull so I get it nice and tight. Okay, that is perfect. And now I am going to just choose a number of seed beads that I like the loop of. These are 11/0 seed beads from my stash. You do need to count so that both your loops will be the same. Okay, that's the loop that 15 seed beads is going to give me, and I think it's perfect. And I'm going to use one of these little gold filled seed beads. Not seed beads, it's a spacer bead. They're gold filled and they're only 3 millimeter, but they have a really large hole, and that's what I'm going to use as the center of my bow. So that can go right there, and then when I get my 15 seed beads on this side, I'm going to feed it back through. So I'm just making a loop on this side and feeding the wire back through that little bead with the large hole. You could really use any bead that you want, and it's the same thing we did with the flowers. Just don't kink your wire. And I debated about if making the bow on my bouquet or making it in my hand and then attaching it, and I decided to do it this way, but I'm not sure the other way wouldn't have worked as well, because now I need to get this to the center and pull my loops tight without kinking. And I'm going to bring this wire, and I know my thumb is over it, but I need to hold on to this in the middle, and I'm going to bring this wire behind my loop, and that's going to attach it, and I'm going to bring it down to the front of the bow. So the wire just went behind the loop and around to the front. I'm going to pull this one tight and do the same thing on this side, and then I'll worry about my bow loops looking perfect. Just get that wire in there behind my last seed bead. And now crisscross them in the front, and now I can make my little bow ribbons and kind of play with the shape of my loops. I'm going to put my plier inside here and just like open that loop out a little bit, and this one I'm going to pinch it closed a little bit. If you were tying a bow in real life with ribbon, it wouldn't be absolutely perfect, and I think of my bead bows the same way. I love it. Okay, ready to do the little bow ribbons. And again, I want to count so that both sides are the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to see what 7 look like. And that looks perfect. And now I'm going to trim a little bit of this off. And I'm just going to make a little tiny spiral here. And oh my goodness, this, not the flat nose plier, this round nose plier is so tiny. It's absolutely perfect for a little spiral. I'm just going to get the end of the wire and get a tiny little turn in there. And then hold on to that and just gently spiral this right up to the beads. Normally I would push my spiral against my finger, but this wire is so fine, it's really not necessary. It's just doing the spiral for me just perfectly. Okay, and same thing on this side. Pull this tight. Oh my goodness, look at that, you guys. It just makes me so happy. That is the sweetest little bead bouquet I've ever seen. I just love it. I think it's delightful. And the next step, once I do this, I won't be able to pick it up or, do anything with it for about 24 hours because my bouquet does have a little bit of weight to it. But I'm going to use some E6000 glue and glue it on this little stick pin. And when I'm all done, I'm going to coat all of this, the whole thing, not my bead bouquet because my wire is all anti-tarnish, but in fact, I'm going to coat this first. I could even do it after it's glued, but I think I'm going to coat this first with my anti-tarnish coating. This is the Permalac. It's so wonderful. If you do anything like this that you cannot easily make repairs due to tarnish, if you've done a lot of wire wrapping or a lot of bead stringing, this is absolutely perfect. I'm just going to coat my whole little stick pin. When this side dries, I'll do the cap for the stick pin, and I'm going to do the whole length of it. And I'll let that dry. It actually dries really quickly. Sometimes it's dry before I'm even finished. And then I'm going to use also some E6000 glue, and I'm going to put a dollop of glue right in the middle, and I'm going to position my bouquet up maybe so that the bow is right on the little paddle part of this pin. And my idea for this, and I'll definitely put some pictures up at the end, but I love to wear like a cardigan or a twin set. You know, it's kind of like got a 1950s vibe, and how beautiful to have a little floral bead bouquet for the spring on your pinned onto your cardigan. I would also be adorable on like a coat lapel. It is just the happiest, sweetest thing. Oh my goodness. I hope you guys will give this technique a try because it is absolutely wonderful to do. I'm just going to take this out. I just took this out of my trash just to protect my mat, and I'm going to take a little E6000 glue and I'm going to put it on the back right here, back of my bouquet, a really good dollop. I'm putting it on the back of my bouquet first rather than on my stick pin so that because from the front, when it's facing to the front, I don't want to see the E6000 oozing out. But I am putting like a pretty good dollop, and I know you can't tell because it's a video, but with all the beads and the wires, there's a little bit of weight to my bouquet. So I'm going to do it this way so that I can see that my bow is like right in the center of my stick pin and everything is centered. Pick it up a little for just a second. And because I didn't want to see the, oh my, that is gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm just going to set this here to dry, just like that. And when this is all set up, I will take some pictures. And while it's doing that, I am going to go ahead and finish brushing my anti-tarnish coating. And this anti-tarnish coating, if you've used coated wire, it's not really necessary to like brush the coating over the colored wire, but it does protect it, you know, from scratching or from the finish coming off. But I'm not hard on my jewelry, and I think that, you know, I think I'm going to be pretty delicate with my little bead bouquet. So I'm just going to let this sit and dry, and I will definitely put some pictures up at the end. I thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to check the description box if you're interested in a beautiful set of tools. I will put a link to that. I will put a link to anything that I've used in my project that I think you might be interested in. The stick pins are an Amazon find. I will link those. I used my Potomac pearls from this month's treasure box. I absolutely love those 6mm lavender glass pearls. And I just used some random check glass flowers. I am doing a lot of designs for the spring with flowers, and I had quite a few of them out here. And if you need seed beads, I absolutely love my seed bead collection from Adornable Elements. So I'll put links to that. I've started getting their curated seed bead collection on rotation with some of the other clubs that they do, and I am loving it so far. It is just great. So like, I had the seed bead collection out here, so the little green beads that I placed in the middle of some of the flowers came from there, and this has just been an absolutely delightful, happy welcome to spring project. Again, I thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody's safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. Ciao, friends.